Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for episode 6 of Survivor 45. Holy moly, sweet Caroline, as Bruce would say. We have a hell of an episode to get into. Quite literally, the shot heard round the world as we have reached the Murgatory. We got to see several of these kooky characters finally collide with delightful results. A Reba Bella war culminating in both of them targeting one of two Lulus left and finishing in the only play in 5 seasons of The Shot in the Dark to not only nullify votes, but nullify the most votes in Survivor history, prompting a no vote situation into a revote at the final 13. This season is absolutely wild. I'm so excited to talk about it. Of course, I am Mike Bloom. I am joined by two very fine ducks, as Jake would put it, as we are swimming through Survivor 45 up to this point. First, let me welcome in Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
I'm doing well. As Sifu says, secrets don't make friends. So we're going to lay everything out on the table and maybe get some little stick bug dancing in along the way.
Now, the thing is that it should have been me talking to the guest, and then you just sneak in behind us and interrupt us and try to scare us with that statement.
Yeah, secrets don't make friends. Just run up behind you.
Yes, what does this man think a first impression is?
I have absolutely no idea. Like, Sifu I'm shocked his name never came up at all, seemingly.
Well, he was safe, so.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. But even before that, really, like, it never seemed to be on the table. He's such a interesting individual, like living his own life out there on the island.
He blew a Kamehameha at the shelter, at Austin. Is that not considered bodily harm? Should they remove him?
Yeah, exactly. He gets removed for inappropriate behavior.
Well, let me bring in a guy who's never inappropriate with his behavior. Now, look, the Murgatory situation is all about different factions coming together, and I always enjoy when we get to bring in a prolific member of the Survivor YouTube community back for his seasonal appearance here on the B&B. It is Peridiam. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I appreciated the who doesn't know inappropriate behavior coming from. I was like, oh, interesting. It's like, yeah, of course. Well, look, hey, as a wise man once said, friends don't make secrets, and that's not what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be revealing all of our secrets for the audience on our thoughts on Survivor 45, the Murgatory. Call it the merge, call it the Murgatory, whatever you want. Just don't call it a bad episode of Survivor, because this was fantastic. I was talking to you guys before I went live, and I'm like, look, every season of Survivor, I love to cover the merge episode on my channel. I usually talk about the history of the show, but if an episode is spicy, if it's given me something to talk about, I'll usually cling on to it. This season's given us a lot, and I decided, you know what? This is the right time to make an episode about Survivor, and you guys brought me on to get my thoughts. So I have a whole script of like thousands of words of notes with this episode. I'm excited to share them, and let's see what jokes we can crack along the way.
I'd love in a 90-minute episode that featured one of the most epic tribal councils in the show's history, both of you decided to make an introduction around a 3-second clip featuring Sifu that people would put maybe like 32nd on their list of most memorable moments from this episode.
Yeah, I didn't even reference that like in the script that I wrote. I wrote like a couple thousand words, and I references like everything on this episode, but I didn't reference that at all until Liana just said it. I was like, all right, I'll bring that in.
I just assumed you were doing an homage to me, which I appreciate.
I was. It was an homage to Liana. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, very appropriate behavior. Peridiam, king of appropriate behavior.
Of course.
Please make that your. I don't think you can put like a subheader on YouTube, right? It's not like a bio on Twitter, but I think that should be like the most appropriate, most appropriate Survivor YouTuber.
I'll check it out right now. We'll do it in the meantime before we jump in.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to talk about this episode because there was a lot to do in the moment. Certainly videos from around the country of various viewing parties just showed the like Super Bowl-esque moment. It's interesting because the Texas Rangers win the World Series for the first time in franchise history about like 2 hours after the episode ends. And only from my curated algorithm, I saw a much more virulent reaction from Caleb's Shot in the Dark working. People truly went wild here. Liana, give me your thoughts about this episode. I know there was a lot to anticipate given just like kind of all the malarkey going on with these characters. Did it meet expectations for you?
I think Okay, I think for me, it's really the culmination of so many different things, right? Because it's not just that the shot in the dark worked. It's not just that the shot in the dark worked at the most people it could possibly work for, but it also negated the most number of votes. Like it was every single thing that could have happened around the shot in the dark did happen. And I think that's what makes it so absolutely shocking. In addition to getting now all of the new dynamics, it just felt like so many things happened in this episode, and then a completely unprecedented final tribal council to really cap things off, which just made this episode in totality so wild, so exciting, and so much stuff to talk about. I mean, everybody was talking about different things except Austin, who was only talking about sandwiches, but that's okay, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that obviously there have been many, many iconic Survivor episodes through 45 seasons, but why I personally, posted this on social media right after the episode aired. I thought that this was maybe a Mount Rushmore merge episode, and I'm counting it as a merge episode. I'm sorry. Semantics. But for me, it's because, there are some really good episodes of Survivor, but are pretty much centered around one event. The Three Amigos Tribal Council, I think, is a great example of like, yeah, there's some really fun stuff going on there. The rest of the episode is fine to maybe not so great. This, to me, what makes this a Mount Rushmore episode to me is that there was so much fun stuff happening. And again, maybe it was benefited from the 90-minute runtime, but to Liana's point, I think we had gotten to know so many of these, again, very eccentric people over the course of 5 episodes that to get to see them interact was one of the most like fun crossover fan fictions. You can see like Kendra and Sifu playing off of one another. Emily and Bruce get to like bury the hatchet, but Bruce then kind of dug up the hatchet while Emily was gone to be like, I'm going to get you. There was so many fun possibilities that were being worked out. And then it ends in just this moment that has everyone's jaws dropped and scrambling. Peridiam, I know that you, like you said, have kind of like stopped in at the beginning of the season and now at this point with an upcoming video. What have been your thoughts overall about Survivor 45 so far? And how did this serve as a culmination for you?
I've been loving the season. Through 6 episodes, I would say it's my favorite of the modern era since Winners at War finished. Is that a hot take? I don't think so. I don't know. It feels to me like we're getting something spicy and juicy. I like the players. I think 90 minutes is, for me, it's like, because I'm in this for the long haul, I'll probably be with Survivor forever. I'm more like worried that Survivor 46 is like not going to be 90 minutes and that we're going back to 60. And I'm like, I'm so thankful that we have these 90 minutes, because I really do feel like, I was listening to your Amazing Race podcast, Mike, where you guys talked about maybe doesn't necessarily extend, like make the Amazing Race that much better. Like it's not vital, but I feel like with Survivor, so much of it is like, what aren't we seeing? What a lot of players tend to just fall to the wayside, or they don't really factor in. A lot of players at this point in the season, especially, sort of just get jumbled up and lost in the mix, and we usually focus on a couple of key ones. But with this season and this merge episode, I feel like we got like check-ins from everybody. Like all 13 players are on the map. Even the player who I think had some of the least development in J Maya gets a lot because it's her boot episode. But for the most part, while I think she probably got the shortest end of the stick as far as like content, humor, any of that stuff, character moments, strategy, insight, like I still was like, look, she got something enough, and she had a lot of not the best content because she was the one leaving, but I've enjoyed this season a lot through 6 episodes. I'm so thankful that we have it. It's great. I'm loving it.
The shortest end of the stick bug. I thought of that earlier.
Yeah, I love that scene. Like, what a better representation of this season, and just again, like the weird array of characters that you have, like Austin and Drew being like, we got a game right now. We got to figure out the situation. And meanwhile, like the other 11 members of the tribe are just jamming out to this bug, just like doing the little shoulder shimmy on a log. I mean, to your point, Peridiam, about J Maya, I do agree that I think she was sort of like the most under-edited person of the season so far. But this episode, interestingly enough, if you like really look hard, is an incredible culmination of how tragic her story is. There is this one scene where it's Drew. I think he was talking about, okay, let's get rid of Caleb. This all makes sense. We'll all get on the same page. Easy consensus boot. We'll certainly talk about that choice. And he goes to Sifu and Austin. And he says, all right, it's got to be Caleb tonight. Sifu immediately says, nope, it's got to be J Maya. Because remember, he thinks that J Maya voted for him. And so he wants out and out revenge. Cut to Austin. She did take my sandwich. Again, another random plot point of J Maya. And then even on top of that, the D and Julie continued that we got last episode of like, well, I don't know if I can trust Jay to bring her all the way to the end. She just turned on Sifu, and I'm not sure she'll be loyal to us. And it was like this really bad series of unfortunate events where, yes, all the votes were initially on Caleb, but then once he was safe, it was very easy for the other Rebas to be like, well, all these things added up. It's time to get rid of you. Even though, again, if you look at it, a lot of it really isn't her fault.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I was a bit shocked strategically that they didn't decide to go for Emily. They went for Jay. I'm like, they keep saying Jay isn't this team player. She might flip on them, whatever. I'm like, I don't know. She took the fall for the team with Sifu. Like, she was willing to throw herself under the bus, willingly knowing this is not the best thing for everybody, but I'll do it for all of us. And they're like, no, you know what? Let's just blast her out if Caleb can't go.
I spent a lot of time thinking, like, why is Jay on the outs? Like actually, why is she on the outs? Because we keep hearing these little things as to like, oh, well, she might turn on us. She's not really fitting in. But why though? And I think for me, an example, and this might be completely made up in my own head, but there's one moment when Merge is coming, and Reba finds out that they're coming to their beach. And she goes, oh, let's make a welcome sign in the sand. And you hear Julie say, oh, I don't know if I have the energy for that. And then later you see J Maya by herself carving out this welcome sign. And part of me feels like, okay, is this indicative of her behavior that she wants to do stuff and she kind of doesn't really care about blending in, right? Because in that moment, those can be subtle signs of like, okay, clearly the group doesn't want to do something. Let me not do that because I don't want to stand apart from the rest of the group. But she's literally listening to the music in her own head, right? She's going to go out and make that welcome sign regardless of what anybody else wants. And so maybe that could be a potential explanation as to why she just wasn't necessarily gelling with the rest of the tribe, because I was a little bit more independent and like wanting to do her own thing, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But in a game like Survivor, where you have to kind of fit in with everybody else, like that can be a little bit of a challenge and can put you on the outs.
What I find so unique about this episode from a strategic perspective, and I know that certain people will disagree with me on it, at least in one front, is like, this is one of these weird episodes where like nearly everyone was acting suboptimally, which like I kind of love that we're all one-eyed men in this kingdom. And like, maybe there's a couple of blind people that you have, to your point, the Reba's deciding to take out J Maya, which confuses me from like a storytelling perspective. I understand that they're building up all these kind of like oddball reasons, but the fact of the matter is, how many times have we gone, okay, it's Reba versus Bello? What was the last vote? That was Reba taking out a Bello. And then this episode, they're like, first the Rebas are like, I think we can let J Maya slide. It's okay. We don't necessarily need her. And then you have Bello being like, granted, you know, they didn't have a vote with Caleb to ensure that he was loyal to them, but they decide like, nope, we're not even going to give you that chance. It's just so interesting to me because I know Steven has really been pumping this mentality of like, no, you got to mop up the middle. We can't have Malcolm and Denise happen again. But I just feel like that's seeing way too far ahead. I feel like it was an interesting thing where Bello should have been doing what Reba did, and Reba should have been doing what Bello did.
Now, is Steven saying we can't mop up, we got to get rid of the people in the middle because Caleb is the golden boy of the season and there's a little bit of PTSD going on there? Is this like a therapy session for Steven?
Now, that's tough because Drew did call Austin the JT, so I think his mind is divided in so many places.
That's true. That's true. I'm not sure how many times JT talked about sandwiches out there. And he was pretty well fed, though.
I don't know. I think he talked a lot about it. I'm just not sure if people understood that he was talking about sandwiches.
That's true. I will say to your point, Liana, I was wondering, I was like, yeah, I guess nobody wanted to play in the sand with J Maya. She was just all alone.
Yeah.
She was thinking of Christian Abby, which to be fair is a fantastic spirit to channel. But I don't know. I will say one of the confusing points was why J Maya, not Sifu. Sifu seemed to be the guy on the outs for a lot of the Reba pre-merge with the 4. And I was like, Jay's just kind of there. But then on the swap, she was with the women and I was like, are they going to actually throw under the bus that hard to like, I don't know. I just didn't really understand that part. That's the one thing I'm a little bit confused about. I completely get everything else, though. I would agree with you. I think the strategy here was like, I was trying to make sense of it. I'm like, it's almost like it was two tribes going to tribal separately at the same time. And
No,
Reba's
that's
like,
next
okay,
week.
we can only vote for Reba. And Bella's like, okay, we can only turn on each other and fracture. And I'm like, wait, they do acknowledge that there are like basically two full tribes in the mix on the same beach. And they're like all like half of them are eligible to be voted out. And they're not acknowledging that. They're all like turning on each other and shooting themselves in the foot. And I'm like, interesting strategy. I don't know how they're justifying this, but I like it. I don't mind it. It's sloppy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the key, because what we never heard was, but then what's next? Right.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, yeah, okay, one vote at a time, one day at a time. But if you guys just like think ahead, okay, like someone had to do the shell math, like set out the Reba, set out the Bello. And that's why I'm sure Katura was like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we see it in the merge feast where she's like, I thought Caleb was with us. Why are we not targeting Emily? Like, Emily is a very obvious person, I feel like, for all of us, a consensus group to go after. And I think that she was really, it felt like the only one who seemingly had like, this is a sense of what's going to happen next, except for maybe Emily and a little bit of Caleb, obviously trying to like find his spot in the middle of this is what it looks like for us moving forward past just one vote.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see the two people that were really pushing this Caleb vote in Bruce and Kendra. Let's remember, this is the first vote Bruce has ever made in his Survivor career. I think it was a little bit like the dam bursting. I would imagine it was a bit of like, okay, I finally want to play this game. Let's make it happen. I know I've also certainly seen arguments of like, everyone else may not have seen the end game of Survivor 44. Bruce knows it. And so is there a part of him that's like, Emily and Caleb are like a Tika 3 scenario. We can't let them slip by. But that's why, you know, the Tika 3 were so unique in so many ways. It's because this is a completely different situation. And I'm really intrigued to hear like Bruce's side of the story when all is said and done, specifically on his edit, because I still feel like this is the most negatively edited someone has been in the new era, which like, I don't want to say I'm happy for it. I think it's certainly a regression to the mean back from, I think, those 41 through 44, which was a bit more like good vibes, a bit more, hey, they're all just people. They all have their struggles. Like, we are going in a bit harder on Bruce, but it was really interesting to see an episode, I think, dominated by him, despite the fact that he was one of the people safe. He digs up the idol at the last second, and then he basically digs a hole to put Caleb in and try to bury him at the last second.
Bruce is straightforward. Bruce says what's on his mind. Who else does that remind you of from episode 1 of this season?
Oh, so could he be in sort of like episode 1 Emily mode?
I think it's so funny. There's a lot of parallels between the two of them. Like, Bruce straight up was like, no one's talking to me. Why is no one talking to me? Why is Bello not meeting? Like, he was just saying what was on his mind. And that's exactly the kind of behavior that we saw from Emily. So what does Bruce need? Bruce needs a Caleb. Is it Caleb? Or is there someone else who could potentially take Bruce under their wing and coach him just like they coached Emily? And we could be in a similar situation.
But as we saw in the pre-merge, nobody coaches Bruce. Bruce is the coach of the team. He's the coach of the tribe. Maybe even almost,
I think
almost
Sifu
literally.
is the coach of the season, considering all the weird martial arts stuff he's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them. Honestly, we're getting a little bit close here with Bruce and Sifu. It's a lot of character moment. Like, this is like very character-driven strategy, which is what I love to see. It's there's a lot of calamity, some of it nonsensical. It's hard to. I was sitting here like, my analysis, like, okay, at the end of my video, I'm like, okay, but here's what happened. Here's where I think it's going. And I'm like, I don't know where this is going. Like, and we have this double tribal coming up. So honestly, it's almost like trying to analyze a pre-merge before a swap episode. You're like, all this could just lead to a completely different storyline, which maybe is a little frustrating narratively going into next episode. Thankfully, not this episode. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm like, Bruce he needed a Caleb to bring him in and earn. I'm like, I think maybe you could say it was a little bit of like a Jake, but Jake is not. Jake is clearly not Caleb here. Bruce is on his own, and he is spiraling a little bit, which I also thought that came out of left field. Like, we get Caleb running around the beaches talking to everybody, and then Bruce is over here just like, what is Caleb doing? And he's just like, and it almost was like, is he jealous that he's not doing what Caleb's doing? Is he paranoid that Caleb, the one guy on his own, is the guy that he's been with for like half the game at this point with the swap tribe. I'm like, what is he thinking when he starts spiraling, saying, we got to get Caleb out? Never mind the Rebas that I have no connection to. Never mind all these people, Emily, whoever, who turned on us. We got to get the guy who was closest to us, I told him about the idol right before we got here. Let's get him out.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I didn't think about that.
This is really interesting. Interesting decision making.
I mean, the thing is that what we saw on tape was Caleb talking to Reba, right? And so if you're
That's
Bello and you're seeing that, and it's like, bruh, were we not just like BFFs? Like, what are you doing?
Well,
It's like
that's
you're
what they
cheating
say,
on
right?
me.
Is they say that they kind of complain that Bruce kind of has this older school way of thinking of like not only
Us
stick by
versus
tribal
them.
lines, but like apparently ice out the opposition. You do not
Hell
know
yeah.
their girlfriends. You don't know their last name. You don't speak to them unless it's good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And that just like doesn't fly. And Peridiam, I think you bring up a really salient point of like, okay, he needs to find that cooler. He needs to find that Caleb. I think what's also interesting about the Bruce trajectory so far is that he's kind of ticked off the people that should be that Caleb. You see Kelly in this episode be
Yeah.
like, I'm done with him. I can't deal with him anymore. I mean, remember, he has been playing with Kelly, with Katora, with Jake for the entirety of the game up to this point for these 13 days. And they're kind of sick of him. Katora certainly has been since like minute 3. You've had Kelly, who just started turning this week. Jake is kind of just like sitting back, being cool, but I'm sure, once he recovers from his umpteenth seizure, like he'll
Jake
turn on it.
Jake didn't even want to get out Caleb. Like all of these people that we're talking about that are like closest to Bruce strategically, they're not with Bruce. They're not on Bruce's same page as him. And Bruce is calling the shot here. It was interesting because the flow of the episode started with heat coming onto Caleb, but then it reverted back to Jay. And you're like, interesting, Reba, what are you doing? And then Bruce all of a sudden says, stop. No, we're not doing that. Everybody on Caleb, dogpile Caleb. And all of his allies were like, I don't know about that. And then the Reba players were like, okay, fine. We'll just get Caleb out this time. Well, maybe we'll talk about Jay next time. Interesting predicament for Bruce here. He's sort of on an island of one. He's the head honcho. Maybe finding the idol empowered him on top of the not going to tribal ever, being considered like the leader of the Bellows.
Well, yeah, because remember, like in that confessional, and granted, again, he's talking a big game because he had never been to tribal council before then, but like he held up his idol and was basically like, I'm going to use this as a weapon. This is my grenade that I'm just going to throw into the game. And you can certainly do that with idols. I feel like that's what makes the twist so interesting going on, 34 seasons since it was introduced, is because it could be used offensively or defensively. Bruce really wants to use it offensively. And the interesting thing is we got that snippet of Caleb in his last, I would say penultimate last-ditch effort, because his last-ditch effort will be at tribal council, telling Austin and Drew about Bruce's idol. I could honestly see a situation where Bruce gets blindsided with the idol in his pocket. Because if he feels like he's going to mix things up and that's what he's saving the idol for, and he doesn't realize how much people are turning on him, he could very easily keep that thing in his back pocket.
Okay, so Peridiam, you talked about like predicting about what we think is going to happen next. And I think in addition to this being a very character-driven season, it's a very relationship-driven season where I feel like that group of 4 on Reba, I really feel strongly like those 4 two pairs are really going to try to stick together. Then I look at who's on the outs, and I don't know how the hell Caleb could bounce back from this. Maybe the fact that like he got all the votes off him, now everybody's like, well, I mean, we got to keep him. But no, of course, they're going to be like, you just negated 11 votes. You got to go. He's out. I think that relationship stays. I think the fact that Bruce is on the outs, I think Bruce is going to go soon. Like, just out of the principle of, like, who has close connections? Sifu also seemingly not having a lot of connections. I worry for him. Emily somehow has, like, gotten her way in there. I don't know how that's happened. Otherwise, she would have been on my list as well. But seemingly, those who are on the outs, I feel like they're going to stay on the outs. We've heard Jay Maya being targeted over and over and over again. We've heard Sifu being targeted over and over and over again. We've heard Bruce being targeted over and over and over again. We've heard people talk about Caleb in a negative way because he's like a snake or a player or whatever Julie said over and over and over and over again. And I feel like those chickens are going to come to roost at a certain point in time. And those are going to be the next people that we're going to lose.
It's interesting, though, that maybe it's just because like I do not want Caleb to like get this second life in the game only to just walk out into the street and get hit by a truck right afterwards. I think this double tribal twist, which I'm not a huge fan of doing it right after this. At least say what you want to about how much 41 and 42 effed with the end game. At least they gave like a 1-round break between Murgatory and doing this double tribal twist. I think this is going to help Caleb because yes, everyone voted, literally everybody voted for Caleb last time. But I really do think we're going to get a situation where they're going to be swapped into, 2 tribes of 6. Reba and Bello are going to have majorities on each of those groups. I do not see how they're not going to say, okay, we have the numbers. This is when we take our shot. Like, if you do, I think you're just passing up a prime opportunity to do so.
Yeah, but then why didn't they do last week?
That's what I was going to say. I was
right?
like, well,
because she ate his sandwich, Liana.
That's going to keep going. That's going to keep going because Kelly also denied the sandwich. So that's there's legs there. Austin and Kelly, that's a future plot that could happen next episode. I don't know. I was like, that to me sounds like it should make sense, Mike. Like that dynamic with Caleb being able to squeak through at least for 2 boots. Like he gets to skip a whole tribal council, which is incredible if you're in his position. But I'm also like, yeah, but then again, they're all looking at him like, we're fine with all the other people on the board. Let's just take him off. Like you would think that I would think the same thing naturally. Like there's 5 blue and 6 red, and now there's 5 red and 5 blue, 2 yellow. Why would you take out a yellow? I guess you could take out a yellow and then scoop up the other one and make it 6-5, but then there's 2 people going. So it might not actually work out that way. So you would think normally if you're looking and playing strategically and like on a normal season, I would say, yes, you would target the opposite color team of you that has all the numbers. But in this case, Caleb's golden. And to him that he's got a bounty on his head, I guess. He doesn't have a shot in the dark either. So you can't, 2 for 2 it.
We gotta talk about that. I mean, listen, we put plenty of the cart before the horse at this point. And again, that speaks to how much of a good episode it was, that like that was the main event, but there were so many great side dishes in addition to that main piece of protein that it was just such a fun 90-minute episode. I mean, we gotta talk about this. Now, we all watched it from the comfort of our own homes. I think, unfortunately, we were not all in these public settings to express our own ecstasy at it. But Liana, give me your reaction when Jeff turns that scroll around that says safe.
Okay, here's the thing. Survivor's been posting these like on their social media accounts, these little like preview, like not spoiler, but like
they're no, call them spoilers. These are not clues. These are not clues, people. Okay, they're just out saying.
I just don't pay attention to them.
Okay, that's so smart because this week's was a shot in the dark. So I was like, okay, someone's gonna play their shot in the dark, and then there was another shot in the dark before tribal, or at some point during the episode, maybe at the end of the credits. I don't remember, but I remember seeing another shot in the dark. And then there's like 20 minutes into tribal, or however many left minutes of the episode. So I was like, okay, I knew a shot in the dark was going to get played. I just didn't know on who, and I assumed it would have been successful because why would they be advertising it if it wasn't successful? So unfortunately, I did have a certain element of anticipation for what was going to happen. However, it was still crazy exciting. Like, I knew it. And I was like, oh my God, is it going to be Caleb? But then there was almost like an excitement because I really like Caleb. And so I was excited that it was going to work. And so then I like wanted to see everybody else's faces. And then I was freaking out because then I thought Emily was going to go. And I love Emily too because I'm like obsessed with the pair of them. So I was like, oh my God, I can't be Emily. But then it would have been sad to lose J. Mike. So I didn't really get to see much of her. So there was still a ton of emotion throughout the entire process, despite the fact that I knew a shot in the dark was going to be played successfully.
That's exactly what Carolyn, my wife, was also doing. She was like, oh my God. And she's like, oh no. Oh no, Emily's going. No.
You went from the Caleb reaction to the J. Maya reaction of like, yes. Oh God, no.
She's like, this is how it ends. He's like, oh my God.
I know.
Like, and then it's like, Jay, okay, all right. Oh, that's for
sure. Okay, that's
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was wild. And I think also then it was like all the thoughts about like, how did they manage to get 11 votes? It's like all I get.
What are these people doing?
No one.
And if you rewatch the episode, I forgot that they talked about this, but there's like several moments where different players are like, we just have to dogpile. We all put it on him. I'm like, And in the moment, rewatching it, I'm like, yo, that's terrible strategy. In the moment, I'm like, I guess you could go for it. I didn't really think too hard on it, but I'm like, nobody in 11 votes thought to throw a vote anywhere else on anyone else, just in case. Have they not watched 41 through 44?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I asked J Maya about this, at least from her own personal perspective, from a couple different angles. A, why not just throw a vote onto somebody? You know, in this case, throw it onto Emily. Hell, if you want to take a shot, throw it onto someone like Kelly or Jake. Like, really call an assassination there. Or when Caleb is giving off such big shot in the dark energy at this tribal council, play your own. She basically felt like, okay, best case scenario, Caleb plays his shot, it doesn't work, he goes. You know, she threw a vote out or played her shot in the dark, and it comes across as dishonest. It was more of a long-term game move versus a short-term game move, which didn't turn out well. The other thing she mentioned, though, is that the reason why she also didn't want to throw her vote away or throw it towards someone else is because from her perspective, and granted, this is from the perspective of like her name was very clearly bandied about, so I'm not sure how many conversations she was in, but it seemed like she thought the votes would not be an entire dump onto Caleb. You know, she thought it might have been some sort of split situation, or like maybe all of Reba would vote for Caleb, but maybe all of Bello won't, because maybe they would assume like, okay, maybe Bello's just leading us along and they're actually going to pile votes onto somebody else. So again, ironically enough, despite the fact that this was an 11-0 vote, these two factions seem to not communicate with each other about what's happening. As a result, they both do the same thing and put needlessly every single vote onto this guy.
But like no one? Like, okay, I understand J Maya. I understand Emily, but why not, I don't know, D, or just in like D's already shown that she can successfully lie about votes. She managed to get the Sifu vote thrown onto J Maya. She could do it again, lie that it was I guess J Maya couldn't vote for herself. But anyway, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm genuinely so shocked that they all voted for Caleb. Like, I don't know if that's a good shock or a bad shock. I'm just shocked that they
no, for me it's a great shock. Like I'll take any shock and awe. You're 45 seasons into Survivor. If you can give me shock and awe, that's incredible.
That's exactly it. Like, listen, fantastic gameplay, 4D chess. We love that. But like 45 seasons in, there's just the lizard part of my brain that just like wants to see something new, and not something new from like a production manipulated perspective. If people are operating sub-optimally and they're all doing it, I'm not mad at it whatsoever. And so I'm like, sure, absolutely pile all of these votes onto this guy that then like kind of sends people scrambling, but it's pretty much just poor little match girl J Maya being like, can anyone please vote Emily? Please, everyone's like, sorry, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Of course, J Maya is the biggest threat in the room. You know, of all 12, 13 people voting, we got to get J Maya dump. Okay, we can't dump on Caleb. We'll dump on J Maya. Of course, that's the 40 chess move we were all hoping for. To be fair, I was like nervous. I was very nervous that it was going to be Emily. I thought, well, why wouldn't they take out Emily if not Caleb? They're the two people in the middle. Obviously, they're really close. Maybe Emily's done a pretty good job of ingraining herself with her swap tribe and playing it low. I mean, clearly she's done something right to not get a single vote out of 21 votes cast, or 22 votes cast. 11 and 11. So yeah, 22 votes cast, and they were like all on the same people. I guess technically Emily got one.
Yeah, I was gonna say she finally, despite the fact that Emily has been Emily, this is the first time in going to 5 out of 6 tribal councils this season that she's actually got a vote.
Who did Jay think other players might vote for? Did you ever find that out in the exit interview?
So she was pretty sure she was going. In fact, she was. So you see her reaction when she's like, "Oh my god!" When it turns out that all the votes were nullified. It's because she thought that they were throwing votes onto her. That it was like, okay, she was going to be collateral damage. She was stunned that everybody voted for Caleb. So for her, it was really just a Hail Mary. It's you or me. She says that as much.
Okay. So she thought an extra vote on anyone else wouldn't have mattered, because if Caleb's shot worked, she was screwed with the numbers either way.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So when Caleb, she told me as soon as Caleb's shot was safe, she's like, "Oh, I'm gone. I'm pretty much gone no matter what." And so for her, it wasn't like I got up and I sort of, strategized. I knew I was going, but I wasn't going to go down without a fight.
Do we think the shot in the dark is this peak? Is this the peak shot in the dark play? Like you'll never get bigger
yeah.
than this.
I mean,
Yeah, no.
yes, this guy was not even dead to rights would be an understatement. This guy was going to be buried in the mantle of the earth, and he somehow saved himself. He got every single vote. This is the peak of it. The unfortunate thing is that with Survivor Twist, they never go out on top. Let's look at Brawn Beauty 2. Let's look at Blood versus Water.
The Idol Nullifier.
Idol Nullifier. If something is successful, they're going to bring it back. So I would imagine it moving forward in the future. And I would be very interested to see Survivor 47 and 48 now. People being like, well, it worked for Caleb, so I'm going to play my shot whenever I want to.
Next season, like half the tribe doesn't vote because they're all just throwing their dice out, just like chucking their dice at Jeff.
Well, I wonder, did Caleb buy a lotto ticket? He said
I asked that. Yeah, I said that in my video. I was like, hey, Caleb, I said, you talk about gambling. You buy that lottery ticket yet? Like,
yeah.
Are you Caleb's a millionaire regardless because he won.
I think
the
he
lottery
posted on Insta that he was gonna post it, but I don't think he has done it so far. Yeah, he's been a little busy. He's been taking several victory laps, so I think it's understandable. But also, maybe it's I don't know. Actually, is it a spoiler? Like, do you think maybe he doesn't need to play the lottery because he already wins $1 million at the end?
I think he has to play. I think he has to buy a lottery ticket either way. Like, you can't. He played the shot in the dark. It worked. It negated the most votes ever.
Yeah.
Like, just buy it for the sake of just for that alone. Like, buy the lottery ticket.
Yeah, but is there like a timing element to it, right? Because like, okay, so let's say by the time now he's made, the merge, but I guess not the jury yet, maybe. I don't know.
I just a quick tangent. I think the jury starts next week. And I think
with both the people.
I'm going because I don't think we're gonna do like a Big Brother 14 situation where it's like, okay, so and so you're in 12th place, so you're not on the jury, but you're in 11th place, so you are. I just think we're going to do a jury of 9 with the final 3, which is fine. I know there's the chance of a 3-3-3 tie, but that is never happening as long as we are alive on this planet.
You could do a jury removal twist.
You could do a jury removal as well. So like I'm going to imagine starts next week, or you're going to get super ticky-tack with like, well, because this person lost the challenge for you, you therefore cannot be on the jury.
Yeah, I don't know. Sort of I mean, it's more expected unexpected than Big Brother at this point, so we'll see what happens.
Sorry, Liana, you were saying?
Yeah, okay. I forgot what I was talking about, but I remembered again. So, yeah, so let's say he makes the jury, all right, based on this assumption. Then he's either going to be on the jury, meaning he's at Ponderosa, which I don't think they're allowed to buy lottery tickets while they're at Ponderosa, but Mike, maybe you can correct me. Or he's like towards the final 3, which he also still probably can't buy lottery tickets if he's in the final 3. So then there's like a certain number of days, like 13 days or whatever, that he can't buy the lotto ticket. So did the good luck run off by the time he like gets back and can buy a lotto ticket?
Well, I guess that's a good question as to like, is good luck a limited supply? Is it like Mojo, or is it like, like when you're playing a video game and you go into like overdrive and there's like a timer in the corner that ticks down? Is that at this point?
That's kind of what I assume, just the way that people talk about luck, because they say if something good happens to them, they're like, oh, I just bought a lotto ticket. And it's like, well, it's because you use up your luck. It's because you have like an infinite amount before that finite period of time.
I would say based on like how luck usually plays out, it usually doesn't strike twice like that often, in that quick succession. So at least when it comes to video games, it's purposely designed. So if you lose enough, you will eventually get lucky, but then you're going to go back to losing a lot.
So then Jay Maya should buy the lotto ticket.
So if anything, the person who should most likely buy it is Jay Maya.
Yeah, but was that not Caleb's experience to what you're speaking about, Peridiam? That as he said, there was this curse on Lulu, which like, is it a curse if production pretty much like set your tribe up to fail from the very beginning? I don't know. Maybe that's like how the evil queen placed a curse in Snow White. But basically like, okay, you had so much bad luck. He had some good luck in being on a new Lulu and like getting into this winning streak, but then he got like some really, really good luck here.
Okay. I would love to be able to look back on this episode and see this truly as the inflection point of the season. Okay, let's say Caleb is able, they break the curse, okay? The Lulu losers lose no more, and they are able to like integrate back within Reba and Bello. Reba and Bello starts battling each other, and then these are the two that make it to the end. Like, how fun would that be if Caleb's goose isn't actually still cooked next week, even though I worried it will be? If this really is like then the shot in the dark takes on even another life of like, this is legitimately what changed his season around. Like, oh, that would be such a cool narrative story. If Survivor was scripted, that's what I would write, but it's not. So it's not going to be like that, and I will be sad.
I mean, I would love it, but how many people are going to be online being like, he only won because he got saved with a 1-6 dice roll?
Well, we've heard that narrative before with the hourglass, which is just patently not true, by the way. Like, Erica did so much more than just smash the hourglass and win Survivor. It's not like, if Caleb wins, I think, to be fair, he's received a good like chunk of credit to get to this point. And in a way, I was saying, like, his guardian angel and Emily came back to save him when he fostered that relationship, which proved to be like the best thing he could have done based on how everything planned out with the pre-merge. Coming into this merge episode, he tries to play the best he can, plays how he played getting up to this point. And the one person that he invested so much time and energy into that nobody else did on his tribe is the one person that really gives him the heads up. And I don't know if he would have had that wherewithal without her, but at least according to what we saw, I'm like, damn, like that's incredible. Like, that's great storytelling that leads up to 6 episodes that you can't script.
Yeah, that really is Billy Madison's glad I called that guy Steve Buscemi moment of like, wow, I really picked the right person. Because now this is arguably Caleb owing Emily back, because Emily, first off, was the one that saved Caleb with the whole Sabaya thing, really tipping her off and forcing their sort of 2 votes onto Sabaya there. And now this ends up happening. But I don't know. What do we think about Emily's next steps? Again, I know a lot is up in the air, but I know people have made a big to-do of like, oh man, Emily voted against Caleb. What does that mean? I mean, she explicitly says in this episode, like, her tough role was not wanting to stick her neck out too far, that she didn't want to present herself as like, I will save Caleb and no one can change my opinion on that, because then you're just presenting another bad first impression of yourself. What do you think her path forward is? Do you think she's going to be able to still kind of like slip into the background because she did vote for Caleb here?
There's a moment that briefly that I want to talk about. It's an Emily moment, where I think she's talking to Kendra, and it's like, if we save Caleb, he'll be eternally grateful. And I think Kendra goes, that's not how Survivor works. And Emily goes, no, that's exactly how Survivor works. To call back to the moment, all of those interactions, right, between Emily and Caleb kind of like saving and helping each other. So I think now this is the first time where Emily has to really think like, there might be nothing I can do for him, right? I have to be willing to let Caleb go for me to be able to succeed later on in the game. And I think what gave me some confidence for her reintegrating was the fact that they were willing to have those conversations. Like, Reba was willing to have that conversation in front of Emily about like, yeah, Caleb's got to go.
Well, not only that, they assigned her, okay, you have to keep him comfortable. You're his handler.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, I really think that vote where she voted with Drew and Austin, I think that that's going to do numbers for her when it comes to being able to reintegrate.
I mean, that's where I would look towards for Emily's future to go. She would probably reconnect with the Rebas, the people that she picked. It is odd though that like, Kendra comes up and they're all like one big happy family. Like, let's just take out Emily's closest ally for most of the game. And it's like, what? Did I miss the memo? Because in the beginning of the episode, we did see Kendra being like sharpening her knife behind her back and being like, I'm gonna get you, Emily, like, watch out. But this was a very different spin on where we were going with the two of them.
I mean, to be fair, Kendra was well fed, so maybe once she was able to like have that massive freak out upon seeing the fish, she's like, great, no more revenge on the mind at this point. What a great episode. Just what a fantastic episode of television. Just getting to watch all these people interact with each other and then culminating in, again, like these kind of mind-boggling decisions, but because they're made all at once, it kind of ends up in this zero-sum game. Like, truly a once-in-a-lifetime Survivor vote.
I mean, I'm looking through my notes of other stuff. Obviously, I know we have to move on at a certain point in time, but it's like there's so many moments that were just so fun. Like the whole thing with Bruce finding the idol, Jake pretending to lose his ring and being like, "Oh gosh, dang it!"
No, it was I can't find my rings, bro.
And then wink like immediately it was so funny. You have Sifu salt bang when they're preparing the fish. Like I just really enjoyed this episode for so many different reasons. It was I mean, yes, I initially reacted when Peridiam said I think this is the best season so far, at least, again, so far from what we've seen out of the new era. But then I look at the concrete evidence of this episode and I'm like, this was a really good episode. This was so
Yeah,
fun.
I think this goes up there with some of the best merge episodes, and I'm going to call it a merge episode because it is. They all came together.
They all voted.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best ones we'll have in a while that we'll go back to. And when we talk about fantastic, the tribes coming together in a single episode and just duking it out, like this will be, you need that, like that moment that people can remember. Like you're not going to remember all the details of who voted for who and why and what tribe were they on, but we all know this was like Caleb. Everybody dogpiled on Caleb, and he got 1 in 6 chance lucky. And it worked. Yeah. And that fist pump moment, that screen, you pause the screen when everybody's reacting at the exact same time. So and it's like, I just want to say, like Drew is sitting there just looking at it. Like,
selling it.
It's like tag yourself. I'm Drew. You're just sitting like, did anybody else react? Like who out there is Drew? Drew has a front row seat and he did not react.
Like at all.
I think Drew's like, they upstaged my metaphor. Everyone loved my metaphor, and now no one will remember.
He's like, wait, what's the next metaphor I can think of to describe this moment? Also, do we think, I was going to say about the food situation, what was it that Kendra got to eat? Was it a fish? She got to eat like a fish at the beginning. Do you think if she ended up eating a pepperaya instead, that would have changed the outcome? Would she have?
I love that scene so much that here's Bruce trying to come forward and be like, I can't believe it. I'm a martyr. I'm a pariah. And Kendra literally tells him to his face, what's a pepperaya? Like, is this some sort of exotic spice I haven't heard about?
And then Bruce tells you what it is, but it isn't exactly what it is. Like he described it as like not exactly what a pariah is, but it's all good. At that point, that's what it is. It's a pariah. It's a pepperaya.
It's a pepperaya, yeah.
What's more likely? Because I was thinking about Sifu doing Salt Bay. Sifu doing the Naruto run out of Tribal Council, or Sifu sincerely saying Oppa Gangnam Style at some point in the season?
I think Naruto more likely.
I agree. I think the Naruto.
Naruto.
Well, did you see him? Yeah. So it seems like Sifu, I think, has a thing he does every time he hits the bottom of the stairs at Tribal Council. The first time he did like a little dismount Simone Biles style. This time he like galloped back to his seat.
Did he? I didn't notice.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to pay attention.
I know he did. I know he did. I remember the slow-mo dance he did out of the immunity challenge. It was like an interesting scene with the music and the quiet, and somebody was talking. I don't know if it was Steven. He was just like doing this weird, interesting dance on the way out. But I was like, oh, I didn't know he's doing like a thing every episode.
Oh, and also speaking of really random odd stuff from another guy that's used to doing odd moves, Bruce fake driving the boat is like Bruce in a nutshell, right? Like you'll blink and you miss it. It stops with them leaving Lulu, and Bruce is like sitting in front of the guy pretending to drive the boat like he's Maggie in the intro to The Simpsons.
Can we just say, like, was Tika from last season supposed to be the Lulu of this season with Bruce? Now seeing Bruce in like all of his, and like I feel like wow, he probably would have butted heads with a couple of them if maybe him and Carolyn.
Butted heads with the wood last time.
Well, yeah. There's so many jokes with that at that point I just say it and it doesn't even register because I've said it like 10 times at this point.
Did you say it went over your head?
Yes, it might have. I'm just like Bruce is. I really enjoy his like very hammy, but also like it's just brimming with character when he's just like talking about his thoughts in the confessionals. He's just like, I don't know. Well, I don't know about that. And he's just like, where is this guy? He's like a roller coaster. It's enjoyable. It's very, very unique.
So obviously there's a reason they brought him back. Like you could say, okay, what are the reasons why they brought Bruce back? Huh?
Untapped potential, maybe?
Yes, exactly. Right, exactly. Because it's not just like, oh, they feel bad that he bonked his head and please don't sue us. Like, come back. We'll put you back on the show again. Like, the man is TV gold. Okay. Yeah. He's so entertaining. I could imagine when they had to pull him, they're like, oh no, not Bruce. Like, he would have been so fun. So I'm really happy that he's back. Nuts, bolts, all of his messy gameplay and all. It's really fun.
He's not the only thing from Survivor 44 to come back and steal the show. We also got the stick bug. Can't forget, of course, we talked about
Oh
it.
yes, that was Carolyn's stick bug.
Carolyn's stick bug
are
is
we
back.
sure it was the same stick bug?
It probably was. Realistically, statistically, it probably was.
Well, that's the thing, is that you asked Peridiam, was Tika supposed to be the Lulu? I'm pretty sure they were at the same camp, so I think the answer is absolutely yes.
No, I thought that the camp, where Bruce went the second time, so when he went to Yellow, that was Tika, because remember he had that like
that's why I said Tika was Lulu.
But the thing is, I had somebody message
but then
me.
They went to Reba.
I had somebody message me with all the data compiled from the last 5 seasons now of what tribe went to what beach and like what that meant. And it turned out, according to their research, the Bruce didn't go back to Tika on the swap. According to them. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what to, I don't have much I can do with that right now. He was like, this guy was like, maybe you could reference this or talk about this in a video in some way. Maybe there's some, he's like, he was looking at the data of like what beach seems to do the best. And it turns out there really isn't a ton of difference between the 3 of them. But yeah, he was like, the Lulu beach wasn't Tika, according to what he saw. I don't know.
So this is interesting, if that's the case. Is it like, and this is a bad comparison, is it like going to the wrong 9/11 memorial and being like you're not at ground zero, you're like in Chelsea and you're like, man, what a day. And it's like, well, you're not actually, the feelings are there, you're just not in the spot where you should be.
I mean, he was concussed, so I'm like willing to extend. But, you know, a lot of those palm trees look the same. I'm having a hard time.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know the person who sent this, so maybe they got it wrong. But from their research, I'm like, hey, they look like they know what they're talking about. I don't know. Maybe Bruce does. I'll have to get Bruce in touch and see what he has to say.
All right, well, let's move into talking about J. Maya. She had a song to sing, and she only made it to, like, right at the first chorus. So a bit of an unfinished song, but still, when you dig a little bit deeper, as I mentioned before, a lot of stuff happened, mostly to her and about her, but certainly with her in this season. Liana, J. Maya had one of the biggest stories going into this season, but how did that translate into how you thought she would do?
Well, very briefly, I talked last week on the B&B about how I felt like Kelly's confessionals were just nothing but fluff, and I really thought Austin had more longevity. And then this episode, Kelly got a ton of detailed confessionals, and Austin wouldn't stop talking about sandwiches. So I really feel like the editors like have it in for me. This is, of course, personal due to my statement.
Oh, is this now your vendetta against the editors?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so back to J. Maya. So I had J. Maya, she was determined to be pre-merge. And so I said that J. Maya mostly kept to herself and was a bit of a mystery to her tribe mates, which makes them wary of her. J. Maya goes on an adventure / journey / Shipwheel Island trip, which only makes the target on her grow larger, despite the fact that she was honest about the trip. Tribe mates thought she was lying. The combo wombo of her mystery and lack of strength and challenges made her the first boot from Reba. Her ally was Drew, and her enemy was Austin.
I mean, she technically was the first boot from Reba if you don't count Sean quitting.
You're kind of like, I felt like you were reading the Wikipedia entry of J. Maya. Wow, interesting.
See?
Yeah, yes. I mean, this is going to be a bit of an auto win for Liana. The votes are stacking on her. Like,
never know. Shot. Hey, there's a shot. There's always a shot, Mike.
All right. Well, here's my 1/6 dice in the volcano. I'm sad we didn't get to see Caleb putting the dice in the volcano, though. I think we got sort of like the faux penner, right, where he gets up to the voting booth and he yells J, and it turns out that he didn't actually vote J at all. So I had J. Maya making the jury, and I literally wrote, I mainly put her here because you can't spell jury without J. We'll get at least one scene of her serenading Reba during a view of the sunrise, and after she's voted out, it will get released as a track on Spotify. Fans will proceed to pick it apart for speculation as to who she votes for to win. She will struggle from the jump in the challenges, putting her on the chopping block, but her word puzzle prowess, combined with Reba's winning streak, will see her live to the merge. True to her risk-taking life motto, she'll get sent on a journey and lose her vote for the next 2 tribal councils she goes to. She will try to create the most punny votes when she's able to cast them. Her closest ally was Julie because they have a connection through the arts. Julie was an art teacher, if you remember, and Julie will sympathize with her making a huge life change. Her enemy is Sack Rock Island, or whatever they're calling it this season.
Yep.
That's not totally untrue either. Like, in a way, the narrative, really did turn into like her playing the game turned out to be a problem for everybody else.
And I will say, like, I do think if somehow J Maya's like, sure, we'll take the sandwiches. Like, Austin was a mover and a shaker in that Riva group. I would imagine that maybe they overrule Sifu here, and they're like, no, we got to keep Jay around. We feel good about her.
See, it's so silly that I almost don't put much stock into it, but I'm also like, mate, honestly, with what we're getting, maybe that's it. Maybe the move is go for the sandwich. Don't go for the amulet. You would think, hey,
Yes.
we're on the same tribe. 2 out of 3 of us get this amulet. We have this connection, Austin and I, and we can like use that with Kelly. Like we have 2 out of 3 majority say because we're both red. But no, just sandwich, man. Just I need a hot boiling Fijian sun sandwich.
Yeah,
because he's that desperate.
melted.
Mike, can you pick a number between 1 and 6?
Yes, I will pick 4.
No!
Okay, it's Mike. I don't have any paper or parchment. I only have my passport with me, and I'm not going to show that on the camera. So
Flash your public document.
I will let you know that unfortunately you're not safe.
Dang it.
Boo.
The number turned out to be 1, which means I'm picking Liana. Liana gets the whatever. She survives.
You would have been furious.
Oh, I would have been so mad.
I was like, damn, I think of all the times I've been on the B&B, I think that was like the closest I've ever seen anyone to like getting you nailed her entire, that was it. That was everything.
That was everything.
Austin, other than maybe the sandwich, that's it.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
the
Take
Drew
off that
party.
mask, Liana. Are you J Maya?
Yeah, I actually knew ahead of time. No, actually, so I did Google Bard, right? Okay, and Google was like, J Maya is a bit of a mystery. Like, it kept writing that she was a bit of a mystery. So I really just went with that, like, full Sherlock Holmes, a bit of a mystery.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
it worked.
I do think perhaps by the end of this season, just because of like how strong the edit has been and how strong the cast has been, that may be the case. I'll be intrigued when we go at the end of this and perhaps for seasons looking forward to figure out like who would be probably like the least remembered people on this season. I feel like it might be J Maya and Brando.
I do think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got the 2 quitters. Brandon had a really big impact for 2 episodes. Sabaya
Sabaya.
too, with the candle and everything. Like the way she went out was wild. So,
by the way, speaking of the quitters, I don't think we've spoken about this. Have y'all seen like that Hannah has become a meme?
no I haven't.
So it'll be something where it's just like, me getting to work and realizing that I have a big assignment due at the end of the day. And it's just a picture of Hannah to basically be a meme of just like, I give up, I quit. That certainly happened in like Big Brother discourse. Once a certain outcome started to get favored, people were just like posting a picture of Hannah to be like, I'm done, I quit at the end of this. So it was interesting. Again, the legacy of Hannah, I think, has been very torrid from certain people in this community, but I kind of love that it's become memeified at this point.
I'm not too
Sean,
I'm not too no, yeah. Is Sean not in the mix at all? No
Sean,
pictures of
I
Sean.
I think Sean has a much more
People
net
memed.
negative, and plus also Hannah came first, so I think people memed it a lot more. Like I started seeing those things as soon as we sort of came around after the first weekend of the season airing, and then people started like posting it as memes. So I think unfortunately Hannah was kind of the first boots on the ground there.
Okay. I'm not too down on quits in Survivor as much as like the average sentiment is. I don't love it because I'm like, well, if that happened all the time, I would really not be okay with that. But especially if it's like early on, like some of my favorite seasons, best seasons have quits. Like Kagiyan, for example. So
Micronesia,
Micronesia, exactly. Like there's different reasons why people quit at the end of the day, but I'm like, I don't know. Like to me, I've watched so much Survivor that like a quit sometimes opens the episode up to making it more interesting and like how do they show this happening and what goes down, and it's also a little more unique in a way. So I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it.
Hannah's quit gave us Emily. Like,
and Sean's
I'd
quit
be
gave us
so
Sifu.
sad.
Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have guessed that after episode 1. The commentary at the time was not super positive about that.
No.
Look where we are now. 6 episodes later, everyone's like, no, don't go, Emily. Don't vote her out. So.
All right. Well, let's get into our game for this week. This is going to be a fun one. So I got this game sent to me by Sean McGuigan. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. But we are coming to the end of the Big Brother season. Of course, we have finally reached the end of it. And look,
have we?
I mean, it's finally we're finally at the end of it. And look,
there's a postseason. Oh my god!
there have been a lot of competitions that have been utilized, classic ones that have been brought back. But there's one personally for me that I would love to see get brought back that has not yet. And thanks to Sean, he's provided a perfect opportunity to play it here on the B&B.
Slip and
We are
slide.
doing a Survivor 45 face morph.
Oh my
okay.
god. Oh no. Okay, all right.
I love
So,
it.
Here's how this
Okay.
is going to work. Sean has so lovingly crafted portraits of new Survivor castaways. These castaways mash up facial features from 3 different Survivor 45 castaways. It is up to the two of you. We'll do this in private honor system. You will take a look at the picture and you'll write down which 3 survivors match up with the picture. Now, one of them is the body, and like it's very obvious. So, like, I'll discount that one. That's a freebie. That's a free square on the bingo card.
Okay.
If you're able to get 1, you will get 1 point. If you get 2, I'll give you 3 points because that's like admirable. You know, that's really being able to get it down to the details. I'm going to put the full slideshow in the private chat as well, so you can look at close-up photos. If you are not watching the video version of this, you can go to bit.ly/facemerge45 if you want to take a look on your own end, do your own guessing. But special thanks to Sean for concocting up this game, and apologies in advance to the Survivor 45 cast. You are all beautiful people. Your children look horrifying.
Okay, so say again one more time. Body is a freebie, and then the other 2 are the eyes. No, just the 2 faces.
It's
we
just
can guess 2
yeah.
faces.
So the first one's a given. You can write that down if you want to. That's going to be a
Okay.
freebie. It's not going to count for anything. You
Okay.
basically want to figure out the other 2 people that are contributing to this weird experiment of a child. If you
Okay.
get 1 contestant right, you will get 1 point. If you get both of them, I'm going to consider that 3 points because you got them all. And again, that's frankly astounding.
Okay. Oh no.
Okay.
Okay.
How many of them are there? I haven't
7.
looked at the. Okay, and so the link you sent is just so we can get a better look than
So
this.
you get a better look. And
Okay,
I can make this full screen as well, too, if you want a better look.
Oh, it's all
there.
good. Okay.
All right. Again, get ready. These are 2 baggers, perhaps. Let's start with the first one.
Okay. Holy.
Okay, wait. Okay.
So there's 2 people's faces, just to be clear for everyone, just so everyone else out there gets it. There's 2 faces here in this picture, and then that's a 3rd person's body.
Yeah, so this is Sean's body.
Oh,
2
okay.
other contestants make up the
Okay.
face that
I
are
was gonna
not
say
Sean.
it's definitely Sean.
I will also say this is not like a unique scenario. Multiple people have been used across multiple answers here throughout this game, so it's not like
so it's not
okay, Sean
exclusively
is
one
done for the rest
person.
of the game. You have to stay vigilant here.
Oh my gosh. I hope the bonus question is the Survivor Heroes villains.
I know.
Mashup. I think I know one of the people. So we're gonna write down 2 names,
No,
and
so
we're
yeah,
gonna
so
we're
you're
gonna
gonna write
both
down 2 names.
share
Liana is
names.
besides herself right now.
Like, I'm dying. Okay. I also have 2. I don't know.
I don't have 2. I have 1.
All right, so well,
Yeah, but
it's
Sean
pretty-
is 1.
So Sean is
that's a
1.
freebie.
Oh yeah. Well, Sean's obvious. Yeah,
So
I
Sean's a
thought
given.
Sean was
So you're looking
obvious.
for the other 2. Perhaps while you're looking at it, maybe I'll filibuster by like describing this person.
Yes, please.
I would say, like there's another meme going around, especially if you're into the NFL, of like the woman at the Chargers game from a couple of weeks ago who has like a 6 head and glasses, and she's overly excited at every single turn that the game took. He kind of looks like he's like a distant relative of that woman. A way too big of a smile and way too small of an eye set to befit a regular face.
I've never seen her, but now I have. Interesting.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
So, Liana, we know that Sean is one of the faces. What are the other 2?
Okay, I think it's D.
Mm-hmm.
And for the other one, I wrote Jake, but I have no idea.
Okay, Peridiam.
I would say Sean D, and like I have no. I'm guessing this is a person's eyes. Maybe I'm gonna say Sabaya.
Okay, so I will both give you
I
a
have no
point
idea.
because Sean, the body is correct.
Yeah.
D, the mouth is
Yes.
correct. That is D.
Yes.
You don't need to look too much further from D to get the third part of the equation. Those are actually
Julie?
Julie's eyes.
Oh, Julie's eyes. All right.
Oh, Julie's eyes.
I just
Okay,
wasn't
the
sure
only
like how much of it. I definitely could tell the mouth was D's. Like she's a very
Yes.
uniquely mouth. So I was like, okay, I think I know D's mouth, but
Unique
Um,
mouth.
The only eyes I know are Kelly's,
She
so I'm
does.
really hoping that those show up because they were on full display in this episode. They're so blue and bright, and
Mm,
everybody fell in love.
Do you feel like they had to put her on the blue tribe for that reason? For just like
I think so.
synergy?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the next one.
Oh no. Ah!
oh boy.
I'm having such a hard time separating like the facial hair. Like we can all
Yeah.
agree, right? This is Jake's body
Yeah.
with someone else's eyes and mouth.
The eyes are
know.
the hardest part. Is the nose ever different, or is it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that tells me too much.
I'm not gonna say. I'm not
Okay.
revealing my hand.
I do not
Yeah.
look at people's eyes enough.
So this is a weird situation
Yeah, same.
because, with no offense to Jake, this kind of looks like if like Sloth from the Goonies got a makeover. In that like one eye is larger than the other. I think because of the way the photo was taken with one of the people, and as a result, things just feel a little askew. They're a little non-orthogonal in the
It looks
face.
like he got decked in the face a little or something.
It does look like he got a black eye. Yeah.
Looks like he just got completely punched.
That'd be a hell of like a pregame story of like, all right, who are you not getting good vibes with? Well, I did punch that one guy in the face because he looked at me wrong at the breakfast line.
I think what I'm learning is I pay way more attention to people's smiles than I do their
I
eyes.
do too. I'm like, I know his mouth.
well-
I think I know whose mouth that is.
The teeth
Okay.
are the eyes and the mouth, famously.
That's what they say. Okay,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
ready.
All right, Peridiam.
Peridiam, do you know?
So we know that this is Jake's body, yada yada. Who are the other two?
Yes.
I think we're looking at Kendra potentially, and I think I honestly don't even know the third person. Like, I'll just say, who am I looking at? Who is this person? Who are these? Anybody? Blanking on names now. Can I just say? I'll just say Sean.
Okay.
I don't know.
Liana?
Just threw a random name out.
Okay, I thought the smile was Austin's smile.
Oh, you might be right there.
And then for the eyes, I am assuming the black eye is because of hair. So, and it looks like they have longer eyelashes. So I went with J Maya.
Okay, well, maybe the smile threw you off, but we saw a lot of it in this past episode, whether it's schmoozing people on the beach with his butterfly ways or beaming at tribal council. That is Caleb's.
Oh, it's Caleb?
Okay,
And Peridiam,
well,
you
we
got, in
take
my
it back
opinion,
then.
the harder part of it, which you got Kendra's eyes.
I thought it was her mouth, but whatever, I'll take it.
So, Liana, you whiffed on both, unfortunately.
Damn.
Peridiam gets out to a 2-1 lead.
All right.
All right.
Here is number 3.
Oh, well, there's Sabaya. Oh, man.
So, to describe this to people, this is kind of like, I don't know, in those Gushers commercials where like people's faces transformed into fruit after you ate one. This is kind of like if one got stopped mid-transformation, because it looks like her face essentially has gotten sucked into itself, and there's a lot of odd proportions happening. Sabaya has what I would call maybe like a 7 head in this picture. It's looking a little odd.
I also I feel like I know one of the 2 other mystery people, but maybe I'm off, but maybe I'll get lucky again. But I'm stumped. I feel like I don't know whose mouth that is. I don't know if that's a me thing. Like,
I'm between 2 people for the mouth.
For the
There's
mouth?
someone who has
Okay.
very distinct teeth that I feel like as soon as I see them, I'll know. But I think this is potentially the other person I'm thinking of. So I think the mouth is Drew's.
Okay.
Wait, do I have to match the mouth to the eyes, or can I just say people?
say
You can
whatever.
just say people. It's fine. Cast a wide net.
Then Drew. I don't know what piece it could be in case those are his eyeballs.
Mm.
And J Maya was the other person.
Okay, Peridiam.
You know, I was That's interesting. I was debating between Drew, but you said Drew. I'll say J Maya and Sean again. I keep saying Sean for everything.
I
All
mean,
right,
it's gonna be
well,
right eventually.
Liana surging a comeback already.
Yes.
It was Sabaya. It was
Mm.
Drew's mouth, and it's J Maya's eyes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
So Peridiam, you still do get one for saying J Maya. So it's a close score right now. It is 4-3. But yes, that is what Lisa. I'm surprised you said Drew's eyes because Drew wore glasses in his photo, if I remember correctly. Or did he
Who?
not?
Drew's mouth.
Oh, I thought you said it was Drew's eyes.
No, I think she said Drew's mouth. No, I knew that was J Maya's eyes.
Oh yeah, no, I said Drew's mouth. But
Oh,
then
you
I
said
was like, but just in case it was his eyes,
Yeah,
then I
okay,
was
there we
trying to
go.
be vague. Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Number 4.
Okay.
Oh, well, in that case. Okay, so Brandon
I definitely
body yada yada.
Brandon's body, yada yada. Yes.
I think I know this.
So just
I
to
think I know all
describe this
three.
image, this is the man that you like run afoul with in the gas station who comes out of the bathroom and is like, do not go in there.
It's kind of giving me like what's that John Goodman movie? Anyway, yeah,
He's in many.
Yeah, that's really good.
yeah. The one with the I'm blanking now on the spot, but it's the one where
Big
Steve
Lebowski?
Buscemi- yeah, Big Lebowski.
Yeah, it kind of
so.
has some like the dude vibes.
I'm just giving some of that. Yeah, it's giving me some of that vibes. I think I know
right.
this. I feel like this for me might be
if
the
you
easiest.
think you've got it, lock it in. Tell me who you think it is.
I'll say Brandon, Brando, and Hannah.
Brandon, Brano, and Hannah. Liana, what about you?
Oh, okay. I had Brandon, Drew, and Hannah because of the glasses.
Oh, Drew. Yeah, it could be Drew.
So you said this was the easiest one.
Yeah, I was wrong?
You're sitting in the hammock, Peridiam. I'm so sorry. You both completely whiffed on
What?
this
Drew's
one.
These aren't Drew's glasses?
These are Brandon's glasses. It is Brandon's body. It is Kelly's mouth. And it is Sifu's eyes contained underneath Brandon's glasses.
Wow, okay. I thought those might have been Hannah's glasses or something. Like she wore big
Oh.
glasses in the premiere, and I was like, oh, maybe those are her glasses.
Oh. Well, I thought it was okay. Well, there goes that
You thought it was
idea.
Boche?
Listen, you just doubted Sean's photoshopping skills, and it shows.
I know, I really did. That's my own fault.
All right, well, maybe you can both find some more luck here with our next contestant.
Ah.
Ooh.
Okay. Hold on. Austin never wore glasses. Did he?
Wait a
Did he?
minute. Wait a minute.
So to describe this to people, I'll admit, I looked at this and I thought Kiwei Kwan, recent Oscar winner, because it looks a lot like him.
That's a cheeky smile. He's pretty happy. Maybe this is Austin when he gets the sandwich.
I think this is Austin after he imbibed a certain substance that gets him sandwiches, if you get what I'm saying. Like, he's looking real happy right now.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so, all right, without jinxing myself.
All right, go ahead, Liana. Are you setting yourself up for failure again?
Okay,
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure Austin's body, Brando's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Yeah, it's between them.
Hannah's mouth, I think. Because I
Okay.
remember her kind of like halfway
so
smile.
That's
What do you say,
funny
Peridiam?
because I was gonna say Hannah and Brando, but for the opposite. But I probably
Oh.
am wrong. And now that you said that, I'm like,
No,
I think
say
you're right.
say it.
But I was gonna say Hannah and Brando, and obviously Austin.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
so whether you got there in the right way or the wrong way, you're both
I'm
correct.
guessing Liana's right though.
Yay.
No, you said it the same thing, right?
No,
We're going
no.
by the
he
honor.
Well,
flipped
I
the which
originally
one was
thought
which.
with the glasses, I was thinking from the last one that like Hannah
okay.
had glasses. So I was thinking, and then I thought, okay, no, more glasses is definitely Hannah. I was like, wait, but whose mouth is that? And then I was like, what if I just said Brando again? I said Hannah Brando last time, so I'll say Hannah Brando this time. Anyway.
Did you say Hannah Brando?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
you got it
but
right.
We
It's
just
a
said
cra-
for opposite reasons.
yeah, it
yeah,
was like
exactly.
it was
eyes-
flipped. It was just I said the
Yeah.
exact same answer as the last one, but I was dead wrong. And this one I said
so
it, but
this
for the wrong
is
reason.
Austin body, Brando eyes, Hannah mouth. But again, because of the way the faces are positioned, it kind of looks like this guy like got punched in the face and it like didn't grow back properly because like the nose is only so slightly misaligned from
Oh,
where the
yeah.
glasses should be.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a deviated septum, but like.
Do you think
it's
maybe
fine.
him and the Jake lookalike guy got in a fight at Ponderosa?
Ooh, yes, I like that. They can be on the next season of House of Villains.
Yeah, shades of like that one season of Flavor of Love when those two girls got in a fight before the nickname ceremony happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm guessing based on the photos that Austin won that fight.
All
He
right.
looks
Yeah.
happy.
They both have black eyes.
Oh, they
Next
do.
up for our preseason fight club here.
Oh no. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so well, we're at for a little bit of a gimme, Couture's body.
Mhm.
Yep. And then whose eyes are those?
Yeah, whose eyes are those? What is
Like, I'll be honest. So the person that is the character created in this portrait kind of looks like they just like let out a fart right before the photo was taken. They look very
does.
satisfied with themselves.
Yeah, that mouth is
Maybe.
not doing it for me. That's oh boy.
It's kind of hard to
cheeky.
tell also like what's their actual like when does their actual mouth end and like merge into their facial shape, right? Because
The ultimate merge.
truly the ultimate merge.
Which one's more of a mouth tribe, Bello or Reba?
Which one gives more mouth is what you're saying?
Yeah, here, let's break this down for a second. So we know that the three sort of components of this game are the body, the face, the body, the eyes, and the mouth.
Yeah.
Which tribe is which?
Okay, Lulu is wait, whose body? Jake's?
No, we're just talking like which tribe represents the part more. You know, what's the body tribe? What's
I would
the
say
eyes tribe?
Lulu's
What's
the mouth here.
tribe?
Lulu's
I think
the
Lulu's
mouth.
the mouth because I think
Yeah,
they're the main characters.
They're
They talk
chatty.
the
They're
most.
loud. They make a lot of noise.
Bello's the body, right? Because they're like super good in challenges.
Yeah, like stronger. And then I guess that does make
Reba has the vision.
eyes.
The eyes, the vision.
And
oh, yes, for the sandwiches because
Yeah.
their eyes are bigger than their stomachs.
And I think they also have the
Yeah.
most advantages, right? So it's also like they are
Mhm.
able
They're
to spy
spotting
the
them.
most stuff.
They seem the
Here we
most
go.
united. They've got their eye on the prize.
That is still wild
Yeah.
to me, by the way, that I'm pretty sure the Bello idol was never found. The Lulu idol was found
Oh.
twice, but nobody went to get the
Mm.
Bello idol.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just disappeared. I was like, wait, where did? Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah, they just never showed
Well,
up.
So the way it was described to me last week by
Is that a
Brando,
first time in the last 5 seasons?
in the last 5 seasons, yes. So it happened
Yeah.
before in Blood versus Water. I believe it technically happened in Blood versus Water 2, actually, where like they found it on one of the tribes, but they found it on the other tribe after the merge, so they didn't find it pre-merge. I mean, Brando told me last week that apparently there was this sort of like not buddy system, but like sort of this loose rule around Bello of like, listen, if you start looking for idols, people are going to get suspicious. That's what happened with Katora. And so no one was really incentivized to look. So I am a bit surprised that nobody found it, given they spent nearly half the game on that beach. But I guess if the rule of law there was pretty much like, don't draw a target onto yourself by roaming around the jungle, then nobody had the wherewithal to look.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I wonder, do you think we'll find out after the season what their activity was? Like what that idol would have had to have been? Because we have the burn the candle, right? We have the smash the pots. I wonder what theirs would have been.
Yeah, and it's also, again, a little lame as well that they, like, just had Bruce dig up the idol at camp before leaving. Like, where's the multi-step task? They just kind of shot their wad with the first one?
Okay, if he never found it, would he never vote?
I guess not.
I feel like that couldn't happen.
But what are they going to do? Like, then do it again? Be like,
Well,
oh, okay, psych, it's under this
actually, no,
shelter.
you know, here's what's going to happen. If that didn't happen and Bruce survived this vote, okay, both tribes going to tribal council next week. Bruce's group, you're happening to go back to Lulu for the afternoon. Like, that's a really easy way you just set up that Bruce has an opportunity to find the idol.
What if he doesn't find it then?
Then he's screwed. Listen, that production's like, I have to wash my hands of this situation, dude. I gave you ample
He
opportunity.
can't vote for the rest of the season. It's like,
and he's been on 2 seasons of Survivor.
He
He's
never
never cast a
votes.
vote in his entire life.
In
Wow.
that case, like, do you pull what they did with Jamaica and Big Brother 8?
I was
it's
just thinking, is this Jamaica Oliver?
Yeah, if he can't vote, like, why do we need to vote him out?
Exactly.
Should Bruce claim that? Should he say, "Oh no, I can't find the idol. I lost my vote forever"?
Yeah, he should have. He never should have shared with anybody that he had found the idol. It should have just been like, "Yeah, I never found it. Can't vote."
But then he would have to vote, right? Like they'd be able to figure out the math. Like,
I don't know. We'll find out next episode. Remember, Austin sacrificed his vote, so Bruce could have hit him behind that.
If you play your shot in the dark, do you have to like go show it to Jeff that you've played it, or can you just be like, "Yeah, I played it," and then I'm just
no.
not
So
gonna
you put your dice in the
That
volcano,
happened. It's a true story.
and you grab the scroll, and you're supposed to give the scroll over to Jeff.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. But what if you just don't give the scroll? Oh, I lost it.
Like,
Fell
Jeff,
out of
can
my
I just
pocket.
peek at it by myself over here and like, oh,
like,
it says I'm
That's
staying.
actually why
You're
it
the
got given over
cameraman.
was because Zach Wurtenberger, if you remember, did it himself. He was the one that came back and unfurled it by himself, and production was like, "No, we're not doing that." In case anyone decides to get a little handsy with it and pocket multiple
did he do
scrolls.
that? He unfurled it himself?
Yeah, and he was and you notice the next time it happened with Mariah, that wasn't the case. That immediately got handed over.
I
to Jeff.
didn't realize that. Okay.
Okay,
all right, so that was a long path to a short answer here. Yeah,
I'm having trouble identifying these eyebrows.
Same. That's why I was going for more time. All right, I have my guess though, but I don't think it's right.
All right, Liana, what do you got?
Okay, well, obviously Katura, and then I wrote Jake, and I pulled a Peridiam and said Sean.
All right, Jake and Sean Peridiam.
I'm just hoping.
Sean, is that Sean's eyebrows? Is that what you were thinking?
I have no idea. I thought they were Jake's eyebrows, but
interesting. I was saying Bruce maybe and Jake.
Okay, well, Peridiam, you've tied it up now, 7-7. So it's Katura's body.
Yeah.
It is Bruce's eyes, meaning Katura's worst nightmare has come true, and she and Bruce have produced a child. And it is Emily's mouth.
Oh, that can. Oh no, I see it. I was just like, this is a very distinct mouth, but I'm like, where have I? Okay, it's Emily's. I see it.
I should have warned you ahead of time of this comp, so you could be like the Big Brother people and like stare at the photos of cast members for weeks at a time.
What this is telling me is I would do terrible in face morph if it was an actual Big Brother. If it came back,
listen. For what it's worth, you're tied up right now, going into our final person.
Okay, no, then I'd be amazing. Liana's fantastic at this.
Again, it's all relative to competition, just like we were talking about in this episode. Last but certainly not least, here is your final face morph Survivor contestant.
Okay, well, that's a true face morph. That is the face morph of the face morphs. That's the leader right there.
Oh, poor Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Okay.
Okay, well, to be fair, there is I think the one of them is pretty easy.
Yeah, so if I could describe this person for the listeners, it's like if your uncle at your cousin's bar mitzvah put on one of the wigs in the photo booth. It was like, "Hey, everybody, look at me," and he's like this short, squat Italian man with a beard, and he's wearing a long piece of black hair.
So, okay, yeah, all right. I'm a little bit confused about this one, but I do have a guess, but I don't know if this fits.
All right, try it. Let's see what happens.
What are you stuck with? I'm curious.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this is Jake. Okay, well,
I mean, I to be fair, I think Jake is the mouth.
Okay,
unquestionably.
Okay, so that's what I thought too. I thought Jake was mouth, but then I'm like, those are Kelly's eyes.
You know those eyes from anywhere.
I know those eyes anywhere. She's stunning. So
she does have those eyes.
Then I'm like, I think that's J Maya's hair, but I don't know if that's like that, right? Like that's Kelly's body though. That's her shirt. That's her purple shirt. So is it Kelly's eyes, J Maya's hair, and Jake's mouth?
Is there a trick question? Is that in the rules?
A trick question?
What'd you write down, Peridiam?
I just wrote Jake, and then I was like, somebody's eyes. I'm like, it does look like Kelly's, but I thought if we're gonna do sneaky, then yeah, it's Kelly. But I decided to just say D, but it could easily be Kelly.
Yeah, so Liana got it. That is indeed correct. It was Kelly's body and eyes. It was Jake's mouth, and it was J Maya's hair. Yeah, the hairlines weren't exactly meeting up that much. So I think that was a bit of giveaway. Plus, Kelly's hair is not that long.
It's definitely photoshopped on the shoulder too. You can tell something's going on there.
Right here. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, okay, so it's not her hair. Because I feel like everybody else had the hair. Right, had their own person's hair.
Wait, so there were 4 people?
No, so it was Kelly's eyes.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, so
they changed the hair.
Kelly's eyes. Yes, exactly.
Sneaky,
Yes.
sneaky. Okay.
Sneaky. Okay,
All
so
right.
yeah, Peridiam sucks at this. I win.
Yeah, I suck. How many points what was the points
So
difference?
it was 10-8. It
Yeah,
wasn't that
yeah,
bad. It was just
yeah.
that
You did
Liana
well.
got what it came down to was
Wait,
Jay
were we
Maya's
tied
hair.
last round?
You were.
Because I said Jake
You said Jake, and you got that one.
and Kelly.
Oh, Kelly. So you got
I didn't say Jay Maya.
I had the one given. So that you
Oh.
got the 1 point for getting Jake. Liana got all 3, and so she got the 3
Oh,
points.
I wasn't
So
even
really
keeping
what it
track
came
of the
down
points.
to was the woman of the hour and a half in Jay
Jay
Maya's
Maya.
hair.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to at the
Fair.
end. So Jay
Didn't
Maya
miss
got
it.
screwed, and here she screwed you. So congratulations to Liana, but really, congratulations to Sean for coming up with this. Sean himself was nary seen except for that first picture, but I love this. I was so happy to get this in my email, and even happier when I had like an excuse to come up with it in this episode, because this was a merging of contestants. Let's merge the faces as well.
I love that.
Well, for such a big episode, Peridiam, anything else you want to bring up? Again, we talked about all the random things that happened over the course of these 90 minutes. So I want to leave some room to bring up any sort of like loose ends or random things that we want to discuss.
I don't know. I mean, we covered a lot of the good stuff there. You know, I was looking at like the pepperaya, the stink bug, the wacky decision making. Obviously, the shot in the dark that is just at this point just retire the shot in the dark, because I'm not super high on the shot in the dark. Like a lot of people seem to be okay with it. They're like average. I'm like below average. Like don't love it personally. I think it's a little disruptive. So I'm like, okay, this was not disruptive. This is like peak shot in the dark. Like.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, do you think this is something that, like, now satisfies the criteria for the shot in the dark? Does this make it a good twist?
Yeah, and then I started thinking,
like
when you're thinking about, like, designing twists, like, if it peaks, does that mean that it has to be retired? Because you could argue, like, what about the hidden immunity idol? You don't retire that. You just keep it around for more moments. But then I'm like, yeah, but the idol is pretty benign when it doesn't work. Like, it's harmless, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I feel about the shot in the dark. I feel very similarly to that, where it's like it kind of feels a little bit benign.
But I feel like when somebody plays the shot in the dark, it takes away the suspense of what could happen, because it almost always is like, okay, well, they're going if it doesn't work. Whereas like with a fake idol, it doesn't always with a failed idol play. I'm like, things could still get wacky, but so far historically through these 5 seasons, like whenever shot in the dark gets played, if it doesn't work, like that person goes home and it's just a unanimous vote. And I'm like, it kind of spoils kind of spoils it for me a little bit.
Yeah,
a little.
It's tough because I like the idea of like what the shot in the dark is, which is like, hey, we're gonna kind of do this advent of giving everyone an idol, giving everyone some sort of out, but like not guaranteeing it happen. I mean, we've had probably like 7 shot in the dark plays so far, and twice they've worked. So I think it's an interesting idea. I'm just kind of fine with it. And maybe it's because it's been largely innocuous up to this point. I do kind of like the equity that it brings, that like everyone kind of enters the game with this quite literally in their pocket. But I feel like it's rare moments where like it actually pops and makes a difference.
Is it what do you consider it an advantage then? Because how you define it, like, is this an advantage or is it not? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I consider it like a conceit of the game.
It's not really an advantage, right? Because people are like, would you consider this like one of the greatest advantage plays or whatever? It's like, well, first of all, it's based on luck. But second of all, they all start with one. So it's not really an advantage. Like an idol would be an advantage. Like you have a leg up, or a sandwich.
It's a sandwich. It's like a tool, right? It's kind of used within the game.
It's like a vote. Like you have a vote. Not really an advantage.
Well, I mean, I think we've also seen it used now in some interesting ways. If we think back to like Matthew, where he used it as a sense of like, I'm burning my vote kind of situation, which I think is also very interesting. We've seen people now in this season try to use it either successfully or unsuccessfully as a negotiation tactic of like, here, I'm giving you my shot in the dark. It worked for Emily, not so great for Brando. So I think it's a smaller part that doesn't really take away too much. And yeah, I would never call it an advantage necessarily, because everybody has one. So
yeah, I would almost compare it to like the immunity necklace, in that you can do stuff with it, but it's also like something that everyone has a chance of getting and using. So advantage to me implies, okay, one person can use this to give themselves quite literally an advantage above the other players. And that doesn't really seem to be the case here.
What's a good YouTube title to include this moment?
Yeah, 'cause
Call
you
it,
can't
call
call
it.
it the
This is
best
not an
advantage,
advantage.
Because I can't include it in greatest advantage plays. It's not an advantage.
Yeah,
Just wild
this
tribal
is
council outcomes.
You can call like the greatest votes nullified moments in Survivor
most
history.
votes nullified. Yeah, most
Yeah, that's
votes nullified.
most votes nullified. That's a data. Yeah, that's data.
Yeah,
Right?
like
That's
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. Yeah, no, that's good.
Is that what you go for, Data?
Yeah, I was like, what would be the name of the like? I don't know.
well,
You
Liana,
wanna
That's
see the
its
name of
own
your
game.
video for
That's
you?
its own
any
game.
other stuff you want to touch upon about this absolute megalodon of an episode before we swim on to what comes next?
Yeah, I want to play the game where we do Peridiam's work for him and we come up with video titles.
Okay,
It's
so
such
I
a
need
fun
like
game.
53 videos for next year. So let's
Come on,
just
let's
break
go.
this down. Let's start
Oh,
getting
do it.
ideas. No.
No, I mean honestly, this was so fun. Such a fun episode. It makes me really excited about the rest of the season and how exactly these relationships are going to shake out. I think we have enough little nuggets that we can go back to when we're looking back on the season as well. So I can't be anything but excited and optimistic about the rest of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even if the rest of the season doesn't hit just like the epicness of that one moment, I feel like where we settle upon it, like sort of like the base level for entertainment this season, to me has been like consistently at a good level. I think people can take or leave again, however they feel about the quits, if they feel like that has been like the worst stuff from the season. But to me, like the base level stuff, even in the most like straightforward votes, are still entertaining because of these people, because of this storytelling. I think while Jay's collateral damage was tragic, I think it was actually a really cool encompassing of like all the things that involved her over the course of the past couple of weeks in particular. So I thought there's some really interesting storytelling stuff happening. And to watch everyone just be an absolute cluster F for 90 minutes at a merge where it seems like, again, like these past 4 seasons, I think 41 was a little different, but like 42 through 44, it was kind of just like, oh, okay, we got to settle on somebody. Sure, you. You know, we certainly saw that with 43 and 44. It was like Gabler wanted Ellie out. Josh was someone that no one was really with, and so it's easy to just throw their votes upon them. This sort of like did both here, where it was still kind of a cluster F, but at the same time, everyone put their votes behind Caleb. I did some research about like the mergatory votes in the past 5 seasons, and it's wild. So we have 5 to 4 to 3 in 41. We have 6 to 2 to 2 to 1 in 42. 43, we had 7 to 2 to 2 to 1. 44, we had 7 to 3 to 1. 45, 11 to 0.
11-0. And then technically like 10-1, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the next vote.
It's interesting because a lot of people claim like this newer era is full of just game bots and like students of the game, but I'm like, these votes are very indicative like of the opposite of that, I think. Whereas you have like David Goliath, where it was like 12 to 1, and I think Joe was just blasted out in Edge of Extinction, and Island of the Idols was a little bit back and forth, 2 and 2. It's 2 teams going against each other, so it's like this is really sloppy. Like the last 5 seasons, this part of the season is definitely not a low light of it. It's definitely like one of the better parts of these last 5 seasons we've watched.
Which I love, because I think it's indicative to me about just like how out in the open everybody is. Like how I wouldn't say honest, because it's a game of duplicity and people being duplicitous to each other, but like how willing they are to just like say things. You know, considering like what Caleb did in this past tribal council of actively saying, yeah, you should all vote for Jay this because of all these reasons. It's just a fantastic representation to me of just the interesting sort of meta strategy that is ruling over this season, which is just like, yeah, play hard, play open. And if everyone's doing it, to see the moves that are being made is going to shape up, I think, for a really fun post-merge. I mean, again, we're going into this double vote next episode where I think even some of the most safe people that we saw this week might end up getting quote-unquote swap screwed into a situation where, like, if it's Kelly and Katora versus 4 Rebas on their tribe, one of them's probably gone. So I think it'll be really interesting to see probably the power shift change perhaps even more next week with 2 more people going, and then we're already looking at the final 10. To finish things off, we do this every week on the B&B. Let's shine a spotlight back over to our guest. Peridiam, what charity or cause would you like to plug this week?
I mean, I usually talk about Society of Prevention of Cruelty of Animals, SPCA. That's where I adopted my cat, and she's been sitting here on this chair this whole time. And I know Liana, you get to meet her too, and she's great. She's always waiting for me to turn off the lights and slow down and put the microphone away, and it's just like, she's just all over me all the time. I also will say, like, I don't particularly I don't talk about this group of. My wife has PKD, polycystic kidney disease, and we do occasionally invest in a charity for that to help either prevent it or slowly find a cure for it, expedite the cure for it. But I wouldn't say like go out of your way for that, because if you don't, I understand it's a really minor thing for most people. People don't even know it exists. But yeah, just something like that. If you have anything in your life, like, it goes a long way, because the rapid evolution from her dad having it like 30 years ago to today, the onset, it starts to take over around 50, but with like current modern medicine we've been able to work on it, it has slowed down dramatically to where maybe she won't even have to start feeling it till she's 60, and then we'll see what goes on from there. So anyway, that's mostly where I'm at. Just SPCA and that.
Oh, amazing. Peridiam, I know you mentioned what's coming up for you, but anything else from your slate you want to tease for all your YouTube subscribers?
Well, I changed the tagline. I originally went with connoisseur of appropriate behavior. I've switched it because I think connoisseur doesn't make sense. So I changed it to arbiter of appropriate behavior.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it is there. The tagline's there. If anyone else wants to go see it, I'll keep it up until this podcast slows down. But otherwise, it's just YouTube videos every single week. Big Brother 25 is coming to a close, and I'll be putting out one more video and then a review of the season, which I have been like all over in my headspace about what I want to say, how I want to say it, how much do I even care to say it? Am I just saying the same things every year all over again? It's like, there's a lot to talk about, but yeah, we got that going on. And then Survivor 45. I've got new videos. I've got a Survivor 45 video coming out this week, and then a bunch of other Survivor history videos up through the rest of the year. And we're trying to find a way to talk about Caleb's shot in the dark as much as possible. So
once you find that title. All right, Liana, what have you got going on?
B&B is it right now, because the Masked Singer was off for a week because of the World Series, but that's gonna be over, and so Puya and I will be back next week to talk about Masked Singer, and then Lego Masters, we're gonna be covering episodes 5, 6, and 7 next week after episode 7 airs. So those two things you can look out for in the future.
All right. And you can always follow me at a Mike Bloom type, where, again, we are reaching the pointy end of Big Brother 25. I mentioned at the top because we did have, I wouldn't even say a Survivor adjacent boot here. Suri Fields left the Big Brother house. That's not even a spoiler. Come on. It's been like 2 days after the fact, people. And I got the chance to speak with her about all of her thoughts on playing Big Brother, all 93 days of it. So I'm sure you want to check that out, as well as I'll be doing exit press with the final 4 contestants as we head into the finale on Thursday and beyond. As I mentioned before, check out my chat with Jay Maya. Super informative. Loved getting to talk with her and hear her thoughts. Especially, I think she sheds a lot of light as to what happened on pre-swap Reba, and in particular, why she was so gung-ho on Sifu from the jump. Wasn't just to make a big move, spoiler alert. There was some like smoke brewing between Jay Maya and Sifu prior to the swap. Also talked with this week's team eliminated from The Amazing Race. Peridiam, you mentioned listening to the recap before. I'd be remiss not to ask, because I know you like watching The Amazing Race. What have your thoughts been on the season so far?
Enjoying it for the most part. I still, at the end of the day, love, I'll take 90 minutes. Excited to see. I'm enjoying most of these teams. Honestly, I was talking because my wife was actually she listens to the podcast even more than I do. So I listen to it by proxy, not to take away from anything. I still love The Amazing Race. And we heard, I think you mentioned either way, but we were listening to it. Definitely, my wife's enjoying it a good amount, though. She's the one who has actually harder opinions than I do on The Amazing Race. She's always like wants to watch it, is like putting it on right after. I'm like, oh, I'll listen to the know-it-all. She's like, oh, but The Amazing Race is on, and so. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, we've reached about the halfway point. Had, I think, the first bit of like quote unquote strategy in the race and the return of the U-turn this past week, which, much like Survivor 45, people operated suboptimally, but much like Survivor 45, it led to a lot of fun entertainment. So you can check out Rob, myself, and Jess breaking that down, as well as me talking with the most recent team eliminated, which was a very fun interview as well. Talk about an underedited contestant who was really fun in the interviews and perhaps popped more than their edit did. So we're about to pop off on comeback for next week. We'll have 2 boots to talk about, and we'll get the boots down on the ground next week with someone who has not stopped in on the B&B in quite some time, but we are so happy to have her. She's been making a lot of the rounds in this season of Survivor, most recently appearing actually this past week on the Know-It-Alls. Shannon Gus makes her glorious return to the B&B to recap whatever the heck we're getting in episode 7. That'll officially be past the halfway point of the season too. So I think we can really gauge like what the first half has looked like at this intermission before looking ahead. What we can look ahead to is definitely more fun games and overall shenanigans, thanks to the people like Sean who send in their stuff. Let this game be an example of how we will take anything and everything and bring it onto the B&B. No game is too stupid. I truly mean that.
Next week, can you guys do slip and slide next week?
We're going to try. I'll get as much soap as I can in this room.
Okay.
So we'll see. I may have to like break several of my body parts getting to the chair in the first place, but we suffer for our art. You can email us, rhapbnb@gmail.com, or use hashtag RHAPBNB on social media. If you have any suggestions of games, things to talk about, etc. We'll get into it all next week with Shannon Gus. Special thanks to Scott St. Pierre and everybody behind the scenes at RHAP for making sure this gets in your eyes and in your ears as smoothly as possible. And Will from America for his fantastic theme song. Liana and I will be back next week with Shannon Gus breaking down the double boot of Survivor 45. Until then, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.